Modern dating looks full of options, full of access, full of freedom. And yet for many men, modern dating feels empty. Not painful, not dramatic, just empty. That quiet feeling that shows up even when things seem to be going well. This video exists because why modern dating feels empty for men is not what you think. And understanding that changes how you see yourself, women, and connection itself. If modern dating feels empty for men, this conversation matters. So if you're a man who wants clarity instead of confusion, depth instead of noise, subscribe to the channel now. We're building something real here, and we're on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support isn't just a click, it's part of the movement. TOPIC1, the silent emptiness men can't explain. There's a quiet kind of emptiness a lot of men feel today, and the strange part is that it doesn't come from being alone. It shows up even when he's dating, texting, matching, and technically winning the game. He can't point to one bad experience or one woman and say, that's it's the reason. It feels more like background noise, always there, dull, heavy, hard to explain. And because he can't explain it, he usually keeps it to himself. Most men were never taught how to describe emotional absence, only emotional pain. Pain is obvious. It has a story, a villain, a clear moment when it started. Emptiness is different. It creeps in slowly, like realizing a room is cold long after the heater stopped working. A man might say, I don't know what's wrong, everything looks fine, and actually mean it. That confusion can feel even more unsettling than heartbreak. Here's the part almost no one talks about. This emptiness isn't caused by failure with women. In many cases, it shows up after repeated success that stops feeling rewarding. The excitement fades faster, conversations blur together, and connections start to feel interchangeable. And once a man notices that pattern, even subconsciously, something deeper begins to crack. Setting the stage for a much bigger issue most men never see coming. TOPIC2, too many options killed emotional weight. At first, having more options sounds like freedom, especially for men who grew up believing choice meant power. More matches, more conversations, more possibilities should mean more satisfaction, right? But the human brain doesn't work like a shopping cart that fills happiness through quantity. When everything feels available, nothing feels rare. And that's when emotional weight starts to disappear. A man opens an app, swipes, chats, and moves on, often without even noticing how little he actually felt. There's no time for curiosity to grow, no room for anticipation, no silence that builds desire. The connection barely has time to breathe before it's compared to the next one. Over time, his mind learns a dangerous lesson. Attachment is optional, not essential. Constant exposure to endless alternatives slowly rewires expectations. Instead of asking, who is this person really? The question becomes, is there someone better one swipe away? Even when a genuine connection appears, it struggles to stand out in all the noise. And without realizing it, the man stops leaning in emotionally, quietly preparing the ground for a deeper loss most men never associate with dating itself. TOPIC3, the loss of challenge and meaning. There was a time when connection required patience, effort, and a bit of courage. You had to show up, risk rejection, and slowly earn someone's trust and interest. That process wasn't just romantic, it gave meaning to every small step along the way. Today, much of that friction is gone, and with it, the sense that something valuable is being built. When things come too easily, the mind struggles to assign them importance. Challenge isn't about suffering for no reason. It's about emotional investment. When a man works toward something, his brain links effort to value, and value to meaning. Without that effort, attraction feels flat, like taking a shortcut that skips the best part of the journey. He may still get the result, but it doesn't land the same internally. Over time, this creates a subtle dissatisfaction no new match seems to fix. The absence of challenge also removes a sense of progression. There's no earning, no emotional milestones, no feeling of growth through connection. Everything happens fast, but nothing feels deep. And when meaning fades, motivation quietly follows it out the door, opening space for a new kind of confusion most men don't immediately link to dating. TOPIC, for when validation replaces connection. Modern dating quietly trained many men to chase validation instead of connection. A match, a reply, a compliment. Each one delivers a quick hit of reassurance. For a moment it feels good, almost like proof of worth. But validation is fast and shallow, while connection is slow and demanding. Confusing the two is where the emptiness really starts to deepen. The brain begins associating attention with value, not intimacy. A man may feel seen for a second, but not truly known by anyone. It's like being applauded by strangers who don't even know your name. Over time, this creates an illusion of closeness, without the substance that actually feeds emotional health. The result is stimulation without satisfaction. What makes this trap so dangerous is how normal it feels. Everyone else seems to be playing the same game, so lack of depth becomes the baseline. A man adapts, lowers expectations, and tells himself, "This is just how it is now." But underneath that adaptation, quiet frustration grows, one that slowly reshapes how he sees himself in dating. Topic 5: Why men feel disposable even when they're not. At some point, many men start to feel replaceable. Even when they're doing everything right, they show interest, they listen, they put in effort, and still, connection can disappear without explanation. One day there's warmth, the next day silence, with no clear reason in between. That unpredictability slowly erodes a man's sense of emotional stability, not because he needs control, but because humans need consistency to feel safe. This feeling isn't about ego, it's about perception. When attention can be redirected instantly, commitment starts to feel fragile by default. A man may think, "If I disappear, someone else will take my place in hours." That thought, repeated enough times, changes how much of himself he's willing to invest. Emotional self-protection begins quietly, long before he's aware of it. What rarely gets acknowledged is how this perception changes behavior. Men may hold back, stop trying as much, or emotionally disengage sooner than they want to. Not because they don't care, but because caring starts to feel risky, with little return. And once that mindset settles in, it opens the door to a deeper internal shift, one that changes everything on the inside. Topic 6: Emotional numbness as a defense mechanism. When disappointment repeats itself, the mind looks for ways to soften the impact. For many men, that solution isn't anger or bitterness, it's emotional numbness. Feeling less starts to feel safer than feeling deeply and getting let down again. It doesn't happen overnight, it's gradual and almost invisible. One day he realizes he's no longer excited, disappointed, or hopeful, just neutral. This numbness isn't a lack of desire, it's a learned response. The brain links emotional openness with loss of control and instability. So it turns the volume down on feelings, like lowering music that's been too loud for too long. On the surface he looks calm, unbothered, even confident. Internally, though, something important has gone quiet. What makes numbness tricky is how functional it looks. Still dates, works, jokes with friends, and moves forward in life. But connections stop reaching deeper layers, and moments that should matter barely register. And without realizing it, he starts questioning not dating itself, but who he's becoming in the process. Topic 7: The unspoken crisis of modern masculinity. Many men sense that something fundamental has shifted, but they can't quite name it. The rules they grew up with no longer apply, and no clear new ones have replaced them. Strength used to mean providing, leading, and protecting. But today those signals feel blurred, or even questioned. Without solid reference points, confidence becomes fragile. And when confidence wavers, connection follows. This uncertainty doesn't always look like insecurity. Often it looks like detachment. A man may stop initiating, stop planning, or stop emotionally investing. Not because he lacks desire, but because he's unsure of his role. When purpose fades, relationships start to feel directionless. It's hard to commit when you don't know where you fit. Over time, this creates internal tension that rarely gets talked about. What makes this crisis so subtle is that life keeps moving. Careers progress, routines stay intact, and from the outside, everything looks fine. But internally, many men feel misaligned, like they're playing a role without a script. That misalignment feeds the emptiness and sets the stage for a realization that can either trap a man or set him free. Topic 8: Why this emptiness isn't permanent. The most important truth about this emptiness is that it's not permanent. It's a signal, not a flaw. And signals are meant to be understood, not ignored. Many men assume something is broken inside them, when in reality, their instincts are reacting to an environment that no longer rewards depth. Feeling empty is often the mind saying, "This approach doesn't work anymore." And once that's recognized, awareness becomes power. When a man understands that the problem isn't his worth, but the system he's operating in, perspective shifts. He stops chasing stimulation and starts questioning meaning. Small things begin to matter again: how he spends his time, who gets access to his attention, and what kind of connection he actually wants. Instead of asking how to get more, he asks how to feel more. That question alone changes direction. This is where the story quietly turns. Emptiness creates space, and space can be filled with intention instead of noise. Men who recognize this moment realize they're standing at a crossroads, not a dead end. One path repeats the same cycle with better distractions. The other rebuilds connection from clarity, and that's where the real work begins. Conclusion. If modern dating feels empty, the real question isn't what women are doing, it's what you're accepting. What would change if you stopped chasing attention and started protecting your time, your energy, and your standards? How would your relationships look if you chose depth over convenience, intention over impulse? This isn't about dating less, it's about dating differently, with awareness, self-respect, and clarity. The moment you apply even one insight from this video, you stop reacting and start leading your own experience. So take a moment and reflect. Where have you been settling for stimulation instead of connection? What pattern are you ready to break starting today? Drop a comment and put that intention into words. Clarity grows when it's spoken. And if this perspective helped you see modern dating more clearly, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We're building a space for men who want to think deeper, live better, and connect with purpose. And we're pushing toward 1,000 subscribers, so be part of that growth.